The door stood tall in the middle of the ancient alien temple. It was made of black stone and strange metal, cold to the touch and smooth like glass. For 1,000 years, no one had ever opened it. The best alien minds had tried everything: energy blasts, passwords, psychic waves. But the door stayed shut. Some said it was cursed. Others said it protected something too dangerous to be released. So they built walls around it, posted guards, and called it the Forbidden Seal. One day, a human engineer named Jack arrived on the planet. He wasn't part of a great army or a famous science group. He was just curious and very good with locks. He had opened many strange things before, but this was something else. When he first saw the door, he didn't feel fear. He felt challenge. The alien scientists laughed when he said he wanted to try. "Don't waste your time," they said. "This door is older than our history, older than your Earth." But Jack only smiled and unpacked his small toolkit. Inside it were old tools, screwdrivers, scanners, metal probes, and a few things he made himself. He placed his hand on the door gently, feeling the cool surface. There were no buttons, no handles, just carvings that shimmered slightly when touched. Jack didn't believe in curses. He believed in systems, and every system had a key. If not physical, then logical. As the aliens watched from a safe distance, Jack began to work. He cleaned the carvings, traced them, compared symbols. Hours passed, then a day, then two. But Jack didn't stop. On the third day, while everyone was asleep, he noticed something strange. The carvings were not just art. They were numbers. Hidden in the design was a pattern, something only a mind used to human math would recognize. Jack quickly took out his pad, wrote down a sequence, and placed his hand on a spot where the symbols crossed. Suddenly, the door pulsed, a red light glowing under his fingers. A sound followed, like a breath, like the door itself had just woken up. Jack stepped back, heart racing. The aliens rushed in, shocked and terrified. "It's never made a sound before," one whispered. "What did you do?" Jack stared at the glowing carvings, now shifting slowly. "I didn't force it," Jack said quietly. "I just asked the right question." The carvings moved aside, and from the center of the door, a small circle appeared. It looked like a scanner, meant for a hand. Specifically, a human hand. Jack hesitated, then pressed his palm to the circle. The red glow turned blue, and the door began to shake. Dust fell from above as the ancient mechanism finally moved. A loud hiss filled the air as the seal cracked open for the first time in centuries. Everyone held their breath. The door opened slowly, with deep, groaning sounds echoing through the temple. Behind it was a long corridor, lit by soft blue lights that turned on one by one. No dust, no decay. It was as if the place had waited for this moment. Jack looked at the others, who stood frozen in fear. "Who built this?" he asked, but no one answered. One elder alien, very old and quiet, stepped forward and said, "It's not in our records, but there are stories about a time when aliens and humans worked together, long before the wars." Jack stepped into the corridor, the lights welcoming him with every step. The air felt warm and strangely alive. Behind him, the aliens refused to move, their eyes wide with fear. "It's your path now," the elder said. "The lock was never meant for us." Jack turned back once, then walked deeper inside. The corridor whispered, not in sound, but in feeling. Something old was watching him, something waiting. He had no weapon, no armor, only a mind that saw what others ignored. And now, he had opened a door that had never opened before. Whatever was inside had finally been unsealed. The corridor stretched deep into the mountain. Its walls glowed with soft blue lights, as if guiding Jack forward. Each step echoed quietly, making the silence feel even heavier. It didn't smell old or forgotten. It smelled like something sealed, like air from another time, untouched by decay. Jack kept walking slowly, careful not to disturb anything. Behind him, the massive alien door stayed open, but none of the aliens followed. They stood far back, watching, afraid to cross the line where light touched dark. Jack looked at the walls closely. Strange symbols flowed like rivers of light, dancing along the stone. Some looked like alien letters, others like ancient math, but just a few were human. He ran his fingers over them and felt a soft vibration, like the walls were alive. Suddenly, the light flickered, and a cold wind brushed his neck. He turned quickly, but no one was there. The corridor was empty, silent again. Then came the whispers, not words but emotions. Jack didn't hear them in his ears. He felt them in his chest, like distant memories touching his heart. Fear, sadness, anger, and then warning. It was as if something was trying to speak without a voice. He held his breath, eyes wide, trying to understand. Was it a recording? A defense system? Or something alive? As he walked deeper, the corridor changed. The walls curved into beautiful arches, and the floor became smooth like glass. Holograms appeared in the air, blue, flickering, old. They showed a war long ago. Ships in the sky, cities burning, strange creatures attacking, and in the center of it all, a glowing sphere locked inside a chamber. Even in the hologram, it pulsed like a beating heart. Jack watched in silence, eyes filled with awe and dread. Then the hologram changed again. It showed a meeting, a round table where humans and alien leaders sat together. One human spoke, and though the words were in another language, the message was clear. They were building something to end the war, a last hope. That hope was hidden inside the lock Jack had just opened. But the last part of the message was broken, glitched. It ended with a single word glowing in red. Fear. Jack took a deep breath, his hands slightly shaking. He whispered to himself, "What have I stepped into?" The air around him grew colder, and the lights began to dim. Then, without warning, the floor ahead lit up, showing a clear path. It led to a large door at the end of the corridor. Unlike the first one, this door wasn't made of metal, it was made of light. It shimmered softly, floating in place with no frame or hinges. Jack reached out, but before he could touch it, the floor beneath him shifted. A platform rose, and from it, a figure appeared. Tall, glowing, and silent. It wasn't human or alien, not flesh, not metal. It was made of pure energy, shaped like a guardian. Its face was smooth, blank, but its presence felt powerful. Jack stepped back, but the figure did not move. Then, it spoke. Not with a mouth, but straight into his mind. "You were not meant to find this place," it said. "But you have come, and now the seal is broken." Jack tried to speak, but his voice trembled. "Who are you?" he asked. The figure paused, then replied, "I am the guardian of the last lock, created to protect the final hope and the final danger." The guardian's light pulsed, and the corridor filled with images again. A world torn apart, a great power released, and a galaxy begging for peace. Jack watched as ancient battles played out around him, humans side by side with aliens, but in the end, all faded into silence. Only one with the code in their blood can open the final chamber, the Guardian said. That code is now awake. Because of you. Jack felt something warm in his arm. He looked down and saw faint golden lights moving under his skin. Somehow, the lock had read his DNA and activated something inside him. He was part of this now, connected in a way he didn't understand. "What happens if I open the next door?" he asked carefully. The Guardian's light dimmed for a moment, then answered, "Then the weapon awakens, and so does what it was built to stop." Behind the Guardian, the door of light glowed brighter. Something pulsed on the other side, like a heartbeat waiting to be heard. The whispers returned, louder, clearer, more desperate. Jack stood still, heart racing, caught between fear and curiosity. The door had waited for someone like him. But what waited behind the door? He looked once more at the Guardian. "I didn't come to destroy anything," Jack said, voice firm. The Guardian responded, "Then choose wisely, human. For even peace begins with a step into the unknown." Jack stood frozen, face lit by the glowing door of light. Behind him, the corridor had grown quiet again. In front of him, the Guardian remained still, its glowing body pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The air buzzed with energy, as if time itself held its breath. Jack's hand tingled, the golden light still dancing under his skin. He was no longer just a visitor. He had been marked by this place, chosen by something ancient, something that remembered him before he was even born. The Guardian stepped aside, silently allowing passage. But Jack didn't move. "I need to know," he said firmly. "What exactly is behind that door?" The Guardian's head turned slightly, not with emotion, but with purpose. "What lies beyond is knowledge," it answered, "and power, buried long ago by your kind and ours." Jack frowned, confused. "My kind?" he asked. "Humans built this place?" The Guardian nodded slowly. "Long ago, before records faded, humans joined hands with 3 alien races to create a weapon not of war, but of balance. Something terrible came from the edge of the stars, something that fed on light, on thought, on worlds. Together, your ancestors sealed the tool that could stop it, but only if it was awakened by someone unshaped by war, someone innocent of the bloodshed." Jack felt a chill in his spine. "Why me?" he asked, voice low. "Because you didn't come to conquer," the Guardian replied. "You came out of curiosity, and that is the key." Jack took a slow step forward. As he neared the glowing door, strange shapes appeared on the surface. Memories, perhaps, or warnings. He saw Earth, green and blue, spinning in the stars. He saw other planets, some peaceful, some burned to ash. Then he saw something else. A creature made of shadow and flame, massive and eyeless. It swallowed stars whole, leaving only silence behind. The light from the door flickered, like it was afraid too. Jack turned back to the Guardian. "Is it still out there?" he asked. "It never left," the Guardian said. "It only sleeps, waiting for the weapon to wake." Suddenly, the floor behind Jack lit up, and he turned to see a figure approaching. It was Elder Thalos, one of the oldest alien leaders on the planet. He walked slowly, robes brushing the smooth floor, eyes full of fear and wonder. "You shouldn't be here," Thalos said quietly. "This place was buried for a reason." "I didn't force it open," Jack replied. "It let me in." Thalos stared at the glowing patterns on Jack's arm, then at the door. He sighed deeply. "The last time this door opened, a son died," he whispered. Jack stepped aside so the Elder could see the Guardian. Thalos bowed, his voice trembling. "You still exist." The Guardian nodded, but spoke only to Jack. "The Elders sealed us, but they never destroyed the knowledge. They knew that one day, something would return, and the lock would need a key." Jack turned back to the door, now pulsing like a slow drum. "If I open it," he asked, "can I stop what's coming?" "If your heart remains yours," the Guardian said, "yes. But if the power changes you, then you will become the next shadow." The words hung heavy in the air. Jack looked at his reflection in the glowing floor. He didn't look like a hero. He was just a man with a toolbox and a sharp mind. But maybe that's why he was chosen. Not because he wanted power, but because he didn't. The Guardian raised its arm, and from the center of its chest, a new lock appeared. It floated in front of Jack, glowing with human symbols. There was no keyhole, no buttons, only a smooth plate shaped like a human hand. Jack understood immediately. This wasn't a lock that could be picked. It was a choice, one made by touch and intention. Once you touch this, the Guardian warned, your mind will connect with the heart of the machine. You will see its memories, its pain, its purpose. You must not lie to it, or it will reject you and tear you apart. Jack nodded, his jaw tight. He looked back at the Los, who gave a slow nod. Whatever lies inside, the galaxy must face it with eyes open. Jack took a breath, deep and steady, then reached out. His fingers pressed gently to the plate. A soft hum filled the air, rising like a song from deep inside the mountain. The door of light began to fade, replaced by a stairway descending into darkness. The Guardian stepped aside again, and this time spoke with a voice filled with weight. Go now, child of Earth. The weapon waits, and it remembers your kind. Jack stared down into the darkness, heart pounding. Every step now would take him deeper into a forgotten truth. He didn't know if he was walking toward salvation, or the end, but the door had chosen him, and so had the Guardian that watched. And Jack was ready to find out why. Jack stepped down the glowing stairs, each step humming softly under his boots. The light from the upper chamber faded behind him, swallowed by the heavy silence. It felt like walking into a heartbeat, slow and deep. The walls pulsed gently with energy, alive, but not threatening. The further he went, the warmer the air became. It wasn't heat from machines, but something else, something ancient and aware. At the bottom, he reached a wide circular room. It was beautiful in a strange way, filled with soft light and floating crystals. They spun slowly, forming symbols in the air. Jack stood in the center, staring up, waiting for a voice or a warning. But there was only silence, until the floor beneath him lit up again. It formed a glowing ring shaped to fit a human body. He didn't need instructions. He knew what it wanted. Slowly, Jack stepped into the circle. As soon as he did, thin lines of golden light rose from the floor, wrapping around his arms and chest. Not painful, not heavy, just warm. The room began to spin gently, and Jack's vision blurred. Then came the memories, not his, but from something else. They poured into his mind like water through a cracked wall. He saw human scientists centuries ago, working with alien engineers. They spoke different languages, but they worked as one. Together, they built something called the core of Voxus, a living intelligence, part machine, part spirit, designed to protect life across the galaxy. But the enemy came too fast, too strong. They couldn't finish Voxus completely, so they sealed it and left behind a code, a biological key hidden in human DNA, passed down secretly through generations, waiting for someone who could awaken it. Jack gasped, falling to his knees. He touched his chest, feeling the golden light inside him grow stronger. I carry the code, he whispered. I'm the key. The machine had read his blood, seen the tiny pattern inside his cells. He hadn't been chosen by chance. His family line had been prepared long ago, and now the lock was open because of him. Around him, the crystals turned red, glowing brighter. The room shook slightly, like something deep beneath it had awakened. A new voice spoke. Not the Guardians, but something more mechanical. Identity confirmed. It said, human code detected. Activating last protocol. A panel opened on the far wall, revealing a massive circular chamber. Inside was a sphere, the size of a small house, floating gently above the ground. It spun slowly, covered in glowing runes and broken armor. Jack knew at once this was Voxus, the living weapon, the sealed heart of the Forgotten Alliance. And now it was waking up because of him. He walked toward it, eyes wide with awe. The surface of the sphere shimmered, and then split open, revealing a core of light. From it, a projection formed in the air, a humanoid shape, silver and blue, glowing with power. It looked at Jack with no face, only light. Then it spoke, and its voice echoed through the chamber. Who summons me from sleep? Jack took a breath. My name is Jack. I'm human. I unlocked the seal. The figure studied him for a long moment, then replied, The lock has remained closed for 912 galactic cycles. Have the enemy returned? Jack blinked. Not yet. But something's stirring. Voxus tilted its head, light flickering across its body. Then why have you come? Keyholder? I wanted to know what was hidden, why everyone feared it, Jack said. And now I know. They feared what they didn't understand. Voxus's body began to shift, arms and wings unfolding like it was testing old systems. You carry the command code, it said. Do you choose to activate me? Jack hesitated. What happens if I say yes? I become your shield, Voxus said, and your sword. But I also become your burden, your voice, your vision, your will. Jack looked down at his hands, still glowing with golden light. He didn't feel ready, didn't feel strong. But then he remembered the holograms, the war, the warning. This wasn't about being ready. This was about being the only one who could. He raised his head, voice steady. I accept, he said. I activate you, Voxus. The sphere behind the projection spun faster, and light exploded across the room. The crystals shattered, the floor cracked, and the energy surged into Jack's chest. He screamed. Not in pain, but in power. His mind stretched, touching thoughts that weren't his. He saw the stars from orbit, felt the weight of old wars, the pain of sacrifice. He felt Voxus inside him. Not a machine, but a companion. And then, silence. The chamber went still. The light faded. Jack stood alone, but changed. His eyes glowed softly, and when he spoke, his voice was deeper, blended with another. I am the key, he said, and now I am the lock as well. Behind him, the door sealed shut once again. But this time it wasn't to keep something inside. It was to prepare what had been freed. Jack stood quietly in the heart of the chamber. His chest still glowed with a soft, golden light. He could feel something new inside his body. Something ancient, awake and watching. It wasn't pain, but it wasn't comfort either. It was power, raw, living power, tied to every part of his being. His thoughts were no longer alone. There was a second voice now, calm and deep, speaking not through words, but through feeling. You and I are linked, said the voice of Voxus. I see your thoughts, your fears, your hopes. Jack didn't panic. He breathed slowly, grounding himself. You're not just a machine, he whispered. You're alive. Yes, Voxus replied. I was made to think, to feel, to choose. The walls of the chamber shifted, transforming into windows that showed the stars. Jack saw images from Voxus's memory. Entire planets, some peaceful, some dead. He saw the face of the enemy. Formless, endless. A storm that consumed light and voice. I was built to stop this, Voxus said. But my creators feared me. So they sealed me away, hoping I'd never be needed again. Jack sat on a rising platform as the chamber reshaped itself. Panels opened, showing ancient weapons, maps of galaxies, and scrolls made of light. Everything in this place had been asleep for so long. Now it all hummed with energy, watching him, waiting for his command. He felt small, yet chosen. I don't want to destroy, Jack said. I want to protect. Then teach me how to protect without burning everything, Voxus responded. Because I was taught only one lesson, fight or die. Jack stood up and walked toward a glowing console. He placed his hand on it, and a new projection appeared. Earth, his home, floating quietly in space. Voxus looked at it through him. This is your origin, it said. Your world has kindness, but also war. Jack nodded slowly. Yes, Both live in us. Then guide me, Voxus said. Show me what your kind calls peace. Jack understood then. Voxus didn't just need orders. It needed a teacher, a friend, a soul. It wasn't a weapon in a box. It was a being raised to be a sword. And now, for the first time, it had the chance to be something more. Suddenly, a loud alarm echoed across the chamber. Red lights blinked on every wall. From deep underground, a message came through the Guardian's voice. Alert! Something has sensed the seal has broken. Jack turned to the projection screens, now showing distant corners of space. One by one, dark shapes appeared. Black clouds, twisting like smoke, stretching across the stars. The enemy was moving. It had been waiting, watching. Now it knew Voxus was awake. Can we fight it? Jack asked, his voice steady. Yes, Voxus said. But not alone. I am strong. But I am still just one mind. This galaxy must choose unity or fall again. Jack looked around at the chamber. So full of weapons, but now he realized something important. Voxus didn't want to destroy. It wanted to be led, to be more than just a machine of war. Jack had the key in his blood, but now he had a harder task, earning trust from the living galaxy. Outside the chamber, alien leaders gathered. Afraid, confused. They didn't know if Jack had survived, or if the weapon had taken him. Then the great doors opened once again, and Jack stepped out. Not as the same man. His body was still his, but his eyes glowed faintly. His voice deeper, blended with the presence of Voxus. I am still Jack, he said. But I carry something more now. The aliens stepped back in fear. Is it awake? One of them asked. Jack nodded. Yes, and it remembers everything. The Los, the elder, stepped forward, eyes full of sadness. You bonded with it, he said. That means it will never leave you. Jack looked at him with calm strength. It doesn't want to rule, he said. It wants to help, but we must help it too. The Guardian appeared beside him, now brighter than before. The time has come, it said. The enemy returns, and only together can we stop it. Jack looked at the sky, where stars blinked and space stretched beyond sight. He felt Voxus stir inside him again, not with fear, but with hope. The weapon that once thought only of war now had a heart that questioned, that listened, and it waited for Jack to lead. The galaxy would soon know that the lock had been unsealed, but what they didn't know yet was that the weapon now had a soul. Jack stood on the edge of the ancient platform. Alien leaders watched from a safe distance, unsure whether to fear him or follow him. Behind Jack, the great chamber pulsed with power, alive again after centuries of silence. Voxus was awake, and now it lived inside him. Not like a machine, not like a parasite, but like a second mind, one that could feel, question, and dream. The Guardian hovered near, its voice calm but strong. The fusion is not complete, it said. You and Voxus are joined, but not yet as one. Jack turned, confused. I thought we were connected, he said. Connected, yes, the Guardian replied. But the core must fully merge with your essence before the next stage begins. A golden light appeared around Jack's body, lifting him gently into the air. He didn't resist. Instead, he closed his eyes and allowed the chamber to do what it was built for. Above him, the floating crystals began to spin, forming a circle of memory and thought. Voxus spoke softly within him. I do not wish to take your mind, it said. Only to walk beside it. Jack felt a pull. Not painful, but deep, like something was being unraveled and woven back together. His childhood memories floated around him. His mother's voice, his first steps, his dreams of space. Voxus watched silently, learning not just data, but emotion. So this is love, it whispered. This is why your kind builds instead of destroys. The light grew stronger, and Jack's heartbeat slowed. He could now feel things he never noticed before. Radio signals, gravity pulses, the spin of nearby moons. He was seeing the world the way Voxus did. Layer by layer, energy and life intertwined. But even in this flood of information, Jack's soul stayed firm. He remembered who he was. Not a soldier, not a king, just a man who wanted to help. Suddenly, the golden light vanished. Jack fell gently back onto the platform, breathing slowly. His skin was the same, but his presence had changed. His eyes now shimmered with shifting colors, like galaxies trapped inside. The Guardian bowed deeply. The fusion is complete, it said. You are now the first core bearer. From the distance, Elder Thelos approached with caution. He looked at Jack, both amazed and afraid. What are you now? He asked. Jack looked at his hands, which still trembled with new energy. I'm still human, he said. But now, I can feel more than just myself. He pointed at the stars. I feel the weight of planets, the danger in the dark, and the fear in every heart. Thelos lowered his head. Then you carry more than power. You carry responsibility. Jack nodded. Yes, and I'll carry it, because someone must. A soft alarm rang through the temple. The Guardian turned its gaze to the skies. The enemy has begun its movement. It warned. Sensors detected dark waves spreading across 4 sectors. Time is short. Jack didn't hesitate. He stepped toward the ancient control console, now glowing with blue light. He placed his hand on the surface, and immediately, star maps appeared in the air. Voxus's voice echoed, blended with Jack's own thoughts. We must reach the border worlds first. If they fall, the darkness will move faster than light. Jack sent a signal into the sky, one that no one had heard in 1,000 years. Across distant systems, old satellites lit up. Ancient stations blinked to life. It was the signal of the awakening, the call for unity under one banner, a banner that once brought humans and aliens together before it all fell apart. Ships responded slowly, 1, then 3, then dozens. Some were old, rusty, almost forgotten. Others were fast, shining, ready for war. They didn't come for Jack. They came for the promise behind him, for Voxus, for the ancient dream of peace with strength. As fleets gathered, Jack turned to the watching aliens. I won't order you, he said. But I will ask. Stand with me or fall alone. Thelos raised his voice. The last time we followed a human, we lost half our world. Jack looked him in the eyes, calm and honest. Then let me help you save the rest. Silence followed. Then one by one, alien leaders stepped forward, offering symbols of alliance. Blades, books, crystals. Jack accepted them with respect, not pride. He wasn't a ruler. He was a bridge between machine and man, past and future, fear and hope. As the final sun set over the horizon, the ground shook lightly, not from fear but from motion. A massive structure rose from the temple's base. A ship unlike any ever seen. Voxus's body had formed a vessel of light and armor. Ready to fly, ready to fight. Jack entered it without hesitation. He was no longer alone. He was the fusion of 2 legacies, one human, one cosmic. And as the stars watched, the first core bearer prepared for the return of the shadow that once nearly ended all. The stars above the alien planet flickered strangely. One by one they dimmed, not from clouds or distance, but from a creeping darkness moving across space like a living shadow. It was not a fleet, not a machine, not a voice. It was hunger without shape, without mercy. The enemy had returned. Jack stood inside the heart of the living ship. Its walls shimmered with light, humming with the voice of Voxus. Alien fleets gathered in orbit, ships of many designs, many species, once enemies, now allies under one banner. and that banner was held by a human who never wanted to be a leader, but had become one by unlocking a door no one else dared touch. "Status?" Jack asked quietly. The walls of the ship shifted, showing star maps and incoming warnings. "The shadow has crossed into Sector 19, Voxus replied. "One colony already lost. No survivors." Jack closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with fire. "No more worlds will fall," he said. "Not while we stand." The command bridge was silent. Elder Thelos stood beside Jack, watching the enemy swarm on the map. "We don't have enough firepower," he said. "Even united, we're small." Jack nodded. "But we have something they don't." He touched his chest, where the golden light still glowed under his skin. "A weapon that thinks and now feels." Voxus's voice echoed through the ship. "I am ready," it said. "If you guide me, I will protect." The fleets moved into position. Jack's ship, the core vessel, floated at the center, massive and glowing. Its shape changed constantly, adapting to threats before they arrived. It was more than a ship. It was a living force, pulsing with ancient code and human heart. Then the darkness arrived. It came like a wave, silent but deadly. Not ships, not creatures, but energy storms, mind poison, reality twisted. Where the wave passed, stars went cold. Jack gave the order. "All ships defend, but do not charge." He waited, studying the movement. He was no warlord, but Voxus saw what Jack couldn't, and Jack could feel what Voxus didn't understand. "They don't think like us," Jack said. "They react to fear." He closed his eyes and focused on calm. Voxus slowed the heartbeat of the ship, lowered its defenses slightly. The enemy surged forward. Fast, greedy, and that was their mistake. "Now," Jack whispered. "Let them taste what unity feels like." In a burst of light, the core vessel opened its hidden chambers. Waves of radiant energy spread like a shield across the Allied fleet. Alien ships powered up together, sharing energy through the network Voxus had built in seconds. No one fought alone now. Missiles from one ship became beams for another. Shields overlapped, weapons synchronized. It was like watching a galaxy breathe together for the first time. Still, the darkness pressed harder, tried to invade minds, corrupt machines, erase memories. But Voxus had learned emotion from Jack, and now it used those emotions. Hope, anger, love as armor. The enemy had never faced a weapon with a soul. The battle roared across the stars for hours, maybe days. Time bent in strange ways under the pressure of the ancient force. But Jack didn't rest. He felt every strike, every death, every decision. He guided Voxus not as a pilot, but as a partner. Every command came with thought, every strike with mercy. At the peak of the battle, the enemy gathered its full mass. It formed a giant storm above the planet, trying to consume everything in one final strike. The Guardian's voice returned. "Warning from the surface. This is their true form," it said. "The Eye of Silence." Jack stared at the storm, heart steady. He whispered to Voxus, "Can you take us into the center?" "Yes," Voxus replied. "But we may not return." Jack smiled slightly. "Then let's make sure they don't either." The core vessel rose alone, cutting through fire and shadow. It flew into the center of the storm, light surrounding it like wings. Inside the storm was nothing. No stars, no sound, only void. But Jack was not afraid. He remembered who he was, one man who believed in unlocking what others feared. And Voxus remembered who it was, one mind created by many, now guided by one. Together they released a pulse, not of destruction, but of memory. The core shared the full history of the galaxy with the enemy. Every life, every song, every loss, the enemy screamed. Not in sound, but in shattering motion. It could not digest what it could not understand. And just like that, the darkness broke, the storm collapsed, the stars returned, the Allied ships cheered, some wept, some fell silent. Jack floated in the heart of the ship, his eyes glowing like twin stars. He had not destroyed, he had awakened. Back on the planet, Delos stood beneath the temple. He looked up at the sky and whispered, "The human didn't just unlock the lock," he said. "He unlocked the galaxy."